Hi everybody, just following on from our campaign to raise awareness of sugar in foods and products and to give you guys a little bit more knowledge on how to make better choices. Some of the things that we're being asked is, well, how do we make those changes? What can we do? What are the practical things that we can do to make those changes to reduce the amount of sugar that we're taking in our diet? So one of the first things I'd say to you is, and these are things that we do at home, I do at home, is I actually don't buy the things that are tempting. So it helps that I'm gluten and dairy intolerant, but we don't buy cakes, we don't buy the biscuits, or we try and avoid them if we can, because if they're at home, then you're going to be tempted to go and grab one when you've got a craving. So if you don't have them in the house, then you can't reach for them. So that's one of the first things. The second thing is, wherever possible, if you can make things at home, so if you do want to eat cakes and biscuits or whatever, and again, engage the family, engage the children in that process, then make them. So you're more in control of the ingredients that are going in, firstly, and also you're more in control of the sugar that's being put in. So if it's a chocolate cake recipe, as an example, or brownies, just reduce the amount of sugar. If it says 250 grams of sugar, reduce the amount of sugar that you're going to put in. Maybe put 200 or then 150. Slowly reducing it so that your family becomes used to the taste of the cake without the full extent of sugar. One of the other things that you can do is start using substitutes where possible. So if you recall, what I was saying earlier was things like coconut sugar or unrefined sugar, all of those things, they're still sugar. So if you want to use them as a substitute, that's fine. But what I would do is use things like apple puree. That's a great one to add into biscuits or cakes to give you that consistency, but also the sweetness. Bananas is another one, coconut. And then you've got other things, other flavours. So things like cinnamon are a fantastic way of adding flavour but not sugar. Vanilla is another good one as well, and coconut. Dried fruit. Now it's a bit of a mixed thing with dried fruit. They are very, very densely packed with sugar, so you do have to be careful. So cranberries, raisins, I use dates, and there's some apricots here. So they are very high in sugar. You have to be very careful not to overdo them, because you think they're healthy and then you overdo it on eating that. But if you're adding it to cakes and biscuits, then if there's one or two per biscuit or something, then you're okay. So you can add that in again to add flavour, but also to add the sugar. So if you're cutting out the other sugar completely, substituting it with a bit of apple puree, and then adding a couple of bits of these things in, your children will love them. And also remember to give them time to get used to those flavours and tastes. It takes time. The other thing I just wanted to point out as well is I wanted to kind of show you something with regards to things like yogurts. Okay, so we talked about cereals before, and I really wanted to just highlight yogurts. I'm using this brand. I'm using Alpro because I'm dairy free. So that's what was in my fridge, and that's what I have. However, this will apply for natural for normal dairy yogurts as well. And again, this brand is not specific. I am not vilifying this brand. It's just what I have in my fridge. So if you look at the back of the packet of any yogurt, you will see, if you look at the back of any packet of any yogurt, like we did last time in the last video clip, you will be able to look at the nutritional content and see that there is carbohydrate with sugar, and it tells you per 100 gram or per 125 gram serving. Okay, so those are naturally occurring sugars, because again, if we look at the ingredients, which are the ingredients label, you'll then see that actually the sugar is natural because it's from the milk that the yogurt is made with. Okay, so that's the first thing to kind of get on board. Something like Alpro yogurt, you will find here that again you've got Alpro. Again, I'm not saying the brand particularly, but a dairy-free alternative to yogurt. You'll see again that we've got carbohydrates, of which are sugar. Okay, that's fine. And if you look down at the ingredients, you'll see that the second ingredient is sugar. Therefore, there is sugar added to this. All right. But if we have a look at it, it's saying per 100 grams, you've got 2.1 grams of sugar in this. Okay. So that's the plain one. You've got 2.1 grams. There is actually now one that's out there that has 0 sugar in it, and we now buy that, and actually it's really good. So that's got 0 sugar. So there is something. Companies and manufacturers are becoming a little bit more savvy to this, and they are producing things without sugar. But what I wanted to show you is, because this is what my daughter does, and I think everybody does, we buy these. So these are all ready-made fruit, peach and apricot or whatever, passion fruit, doesn't really matter. They're already made up for you, all right? Yogurt with fruit in it, grab and go, the little 4-pack of these. But if we look again, we're going to expect that anyway. If you look at the ingredients, you'll find that sugar is on, again, the second thing on the ingredients list there. So it's the second highest content in here. So the first one would be the first highest, the second is the second highest. If we then go down to across the underneath actually on the pack to the nutritional content, if you have a look at the carbohydrates of which are sugar per 100 grams per serving, actually, you'll find it says that one is 9.8 and the other is 10.3, right? So you've suddenly gone from your 2.1 per 100 grams with the plain yogurt, and bearing in mind you can now get yogurt without any added sugar, and if you're using natural dairy, you've only got the yogurt which is the sugar which is in your yogurt. You've then increased it to 10.3. You don't need to do that. It's really, really simple. If you just use the plain yogurt and add a bit of your dried fruit, add a little bit of your apple puree, add some cinnamon, you're not going to get anywhere near that amount of sugar that is displayed on here. So you don't need to buy these ready-made yogurts all the time. I know they're convenient, and I'm not saying you shouldn't buy them at all. All I'm saying is be aware that if you're at home having breakfast, is it possible for you to use the plain yogurt and add all your bits to it? Add your fruit to it, add your banana to it if you need to, add some nuts as well. So in that way, you're more in control of the amount of sugar that you're eating. I hope that's made sense. I hope that this campaign is just bringing a little bit more awareness so that you have the knowledge to make better choices. That's just all this is about. It's not about a diet, and it's not about saying that you mustn't eat any sugar. It's not about a black and white view. I really just would like parents to be educated in and be aware of sugar and where it's hidden, so that you can make better choices for your children, and then they will then eat whole food and be a lot more balanced, and we can try and tackle obesity, childhood obesity, and try and tackle diabetes in children, which is it's rife at the moment. So hopefully these tips have been useful, and it would be really good to hear your feedback. Thank you. Bye bye.